All right, cut my music. Good late evening, NWS Revolution members and viewers. This is your NWS Director of Operations and your current NWS United States Champion and current NWS Intercontinental Champion, Jayden Miller from Dhar Mann Studios. Mischief Mikey Miller's younger brother and the 14-year-old son of Scott Kisegale, also known as Scooter St. William, the 50% co-owner of the NWS Revolution, along with Mischief Mikey Miller, who is the current NWS World Heavyweight Champion, and one half of the NWS Tag Team Champions. Someone asked me Iowa. Now, I watched the video from my older brother, Mischief Mikey Miller, my 16-year-old brother, Mischief Mikey Miller, where he was declaring himself the GOAT of NWS Revolution, the greatest of all time. How are you the greatest of all time, Mikey, when all you do is cause trouble and cause mischief and abuse your power? How is abusing your co-ownership power here in the NWS Revolution make you the GOAT of the NWS Revolution? How does it make you the best in the world? I question that, Mikey. And the weird punishment you have for my adoptive father, Scott Kisegale, my 47-year-old adopted father, Scott Kisegale, where you are forcing him to go shirtless now, all because he made fun of your physique, Mr. Mikey Miller. You constantly and miraculously brag about your physique. You act like you have the greatest physique of all time. You act like you have the greatest body of all time. And you claim to have the greatest tan of all time. Now you're wrestling shirtless. You're actually wearing blue wrestling tights, elbow pads, and knee pads. And now you're wearing your expensive silk suits and ties without a dress shirt because you like showing off your chest, Mikey. Do you know how strange and weird that is? But then again, Mikey, you've always been strange and weird. I mean, you cheat on your math test. Every test you cheat, you fake injuries just to get out of going to school. And then there have been a couple times where you forced me to participate in your mischief schemes. And now you're forcing Scott Kisegale to participate in your mischief schemes. You make Scott Kisegale sit on your lap every single day on every single episode of Revolution Impact and every single NWS Revolution pay-per-view. You force Scott Kisegale to sit on your lap, and so does the NWS Chief of Staff, the current NWS Hardcore Champion, and the other half of the NWS Tag Team Champions. Someone asked me Iowa. Iowa. That's his name. Chief of Staff Iowa Schwinn. Now, Iowa is well, I mean, yes, Iowa is also making Scott Kisegale sit on his lap, just in spite of himself and in spite of you, because the two of you bastards like to go ahead and publicly humiliate and embarrass my adopted father, Scott Kisegale. Well, that crap is gonna now, that crap stops and it stops now, but unfortunately, I can't do anything about it because it's in the ironclad 50-50 ownership contract stating Scott Kisegale has to do what Mischief Mikey Miller and Chief of Staff Iowa tell him. And now, like first, like you, Mikey, making Scott Kisegale go shirtless in promos. Why? Because you have some sort of massive control over him. You have power over him. You have authority over Scott Casey Gale, my adopted father. You and Chief of Staff Iowa continue to abuse your power here in the NWS Revolution, and you get away with it. You get away with it because of your ironclad contract. Mikey, I get it. You like showing off your physique, but that doesn't give you the right to go ahead and force Scott Kisegeo to go shirtless. Now, the reason I made Scott Kisegeo sit on my lap last month on an episode of NWS Revolution Impact is to give him a wake-up call. Is to give him tough love. And the reason Jayden Miller, made my adopted father, Scott Kisegeo, sit on my lap is to give him a tough love, harmless performance reveal. And I kept Scott Kisegeo on my lap until until the main event, just to stick it to you, Mr. Mikey Miller, because Scott Kisegeo listens to me. Scott Kisegeo always gives me great advice, great fatherly advice, and I always give Scott Kisegeo great son advice, son to father advice, and he listens to me. I've always looked up to Scott Kisegeo like a father. Scott Kisegeo has always been family to me. Not only is he my adopted father, not only is he my client, not only am I Scott Kisegeo's managing agent, but Scott Kisegeo is also my family best friend. We look out for each other. I watch Scott Kisegeo's back, and Scott Kisegeo watches my back. And yes, I will continue to have Scott Kisegeo sit on my lap to protect him, to ground him, to guide him, to teach him right from wrong, and to make sure he is completely and fully protected. But you're going to, and the only reason why you, Mischief Mikey Miller, make Scott Kisegeo sit on your lap, as I said, and I hate to repeat myself, but you, Mikey, make Scott Kisegeo sit on your lap to punish him, to publicly embarrass and humiliate him, and make him a laughing stock here in the NWS Revolution. And Chief of Staff Iowa, you make Scott Kisegeo sit on your lap just to punish him and to publicly embarrass him and to publicly humiliate him. Well, I, Jayden Miller, have had enough of your games, Mikey. But I will give you credit in one thing. At least you defend your world heavyweight title every night on Revolution Impact in the main event. And yes, just so that you know, at Revolution Beach Bash, I will be in my father Scott Kisegeo's corner to keep an eye on the jackass general manager Don Callis, and to keep an eye on that other jackass walrus assistant general manager Paul Heyman. Because Mikey, you are always screwing Scott Kisegeo over. You are screwing Scott Kisegeo out of victories. And Don Callis and Paul Heyman continue to abuse your power. That's all you ever do. The NWS regime is nothing but power-hungry egomaniacs. Mikey, you are one of the biggest egomaniacs here in the NWS Revolution. You let power get to your head. You abuse it. You are an egomaniac, and you are very, very manipulative. Yes, you are very, very manipulative. You manipulate people, Mikey. Don Callis manipulates people, and Paul Heyman manipulates people. Chief of Staff Iowa Schwinn manipulates people as well. I'll just stick it to Scott Kisegeo. Well, oh hey, Iowa, I will. The only thing I will give you credit in one thing. You defend your hardcore title every night on Revolution Impact and at every NWS Revolution pay-per-view. Just like I defend both my United States title and my Intercontinental title every night on Revolution Impact and at every NWS pay-per-view. But Mikey, I don't know why you consider yourself the greatest of all time. Don't get me wrong, you are a great wrestler. You really have improved your in-ring skills, but you still, from here and there, cheat, just like you do on your tests at school, because you are a cheat, Mikey. Well, why can't for once in your life you win a match fair and square? Why can't? Well, you have. Here's an idea. If you claim you're gonna beat Scott Casey Gale in a TLC match, tables, ladders, and chairs, then do it without cheating. Beat him fair and square. But here's the thing: Scott Casey Gale could easily win his title back, but it's going to be one hell of a TLC match. And like I said, I'm going to keep my eye on my rival, General Manager Don Callis, and my other rival, Assistant General Manager Paul Heyman, that big fat walrus. Because I know they're definitely going to play a big part. I know that Don Callis and Paul Heyman are going to get involved. And the reason I'm also going to be in Scott Casey Gale's corner is to make sure Chief of Staff Ira Schwinn does his job fair and square. Because I know he's going to do everything in his power to once again screw Scott Casey Gale, also known as Scooter St. William, out of the NWS World Heavyweight title. Well, Ira, I am keeping my eye on you. You, Ira, I am putting you on probation. Unfortunately, I can't suspend you or fire you, and unfortunately, I can't remove you as MWS Chief of Staff because you have an ironclad contract here in the NWS Revolution. But I can some way and somehow put you on probation because I will be watching your every single move. And the same goes for you, Mischief Mikey Miller, because as Mom always says, what happens in the dark always comes to life. Because both you, Mikey, and you, Ira, and you, Don Callis, and you, Paul Heyman, all four of you need life lessons. I guess I'm the only one that's going to teach you hard life lessons. I'm going to teach you right from wrong. Hey, Ira, someone asked me, Ira, how about tomorrow on Revolution Impact, me and you fight in the parking lot? That's what. Don't worry, I'll be doing double duty. I will be defending both my United States title, Intercontinental title, against an opponent of my choice, and then I will fight you in the parking lot. Because we always have great parking lot bars. I mean, whenever me and Scott Casey Gale are fighting you and Mikey, we always somehow, someway surprise you. And we end up beating the two of you with an inch of life. But Ira, but someone asked me, Ira, I'm challenging you to a parking lot bar. Now I know you're fighting. Now I know you're defending your hardcore title against an opponent of your choice. But what do you say, Ira? What do you say? Meet me in the parking lot tomorrow night on Revolution Impact. And it's going to be one hell of a parking lot bar. No, I don't want to take up too much NWS Revolution screen time. But just to let you know, Mikey and Ira, to my brother, the co-owner of the NWS Revolution, the current NWS World Heavyweight Champion, and to the General Manager Don Callis, and Assistant General Manager Paul Heyman, and the Chief of Staff Ira Schwinn, I am keeping an eye on you, and I will be watching all four of you like a hawk to make sure you don't cause any more mischief and to make sure you don't create any more chaos. I will be watching you, and that's all I, Jayden Miller, got to say about that. This is your NWS Director of Operations, Jayden Miller from Dhar Studios, signing off. Have a good night, and thank you for watching.